Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode on the Sports Stories podcast. I'm your host, Seiji McSwain. Now, for today's episode, we're going to be going over my Week 8 predictions for the NFL season. Now, first of all, I do want to support you guys, or I do want to thank you guys on the support. I don't know why I messed it up, but I want to thank you guys on the support for my new NBA episode, redrafting the 2016 draft. The support on that video has been insane. I just want to thank you guys. You guys have been doing your thing on that. It's just been crazy how far this channel has grown, mainly because of you guys. I mean, you guys are sharing it out there. It's been great so far, great past couple months, and can't wait to just keep it going. But without further ado, let's go right into my predictions. Now, first up, for the first game of the week, we have the Eagles at the Texans on Thursday Night Football. Now, the Eagles coming off of a pretty easy win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not much really to say there. I mean, Steelers didn't play good. I mean, A.J. Brown is probably the best wide receiver in the league. Just kidding. That's overhyping. But I did have him on my fantasy team. He put up 39 points. I mean, he's just great. Okay, he was great. I saw touchdown after touchdown notification. I was like, oh man, AJ Brown's going off. Now the Eagles do kind of waver in the second half, but I mean it's against the Steelers, so it doesn't really matter. But they did waver off just a little bit. But Jalen Hurts stepping in there, starting role, 19 completions on 28 attempts for 255 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, but, not all that bad. Miles Sanders, 78 yards on 9 carries and a touchdown. And A.J. Brown, the GOAT, 156 yards on 6 receptions and 3 touchdowns. Dallas Goedert, 64 yards on 6 receptions. Pascal, 57 yards on 2 receptions. So, they were doing their thing. Okay. Avonte Maddox with the fumble recovery. The defense out here with 7 tackles for loss, 7 pass deflections, 6 sacks, and 74 total tackles, along with a interception by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I mean that team is just such a good all-around team. Now, a lot of people are downing them, saying that they're first-round exits, but in my opinion, I think the Eagles are just such a great team that the NFC has some really good competition to give them, mainly the Vikings, the 49ers, possibly the Cowboys. I mean, there's a lot of teams that can give them a run for their money, but I mean, as of right now, the Eagles just look undisputedly like the best team. Now, it could just be the strength of their schedule. So far, we really haven't seen anybody that hard that they faced, so it could just again be a strength of schedule issue. So that's why the Eagles look so good. But I mean, they just look good. They're dominating every single game basically. I mean, they're just going off. So overall, I feel like the Eagles are just one of the best teams in the NFL. Now, going over to the Texans side, Texans coming off of a close loss to the Titans, losing 17-10. It was an okay performance. Davis Mills, 17 completions with 152 yards, a touchdown and an interception, and he was sacked 3 times. They really couldn't get anything off the ground. Dameon Pierce coming off of a really good game, a really good couple of games. Didn't really do much, only 35 yards on 15 carries. Brandon Cooks, who a lot of people thought were going to be traded today. Today is the trade deadline, or it ended 2 hours ago. But Brandon Cooks, a lot of people thought we were going to be traded, or was going to be traded. 73 yards on 4 receptions. Now, one thing to know about him is that I did see that he was healthy before the trade deadline. Mainly yesterday, he was put as healthy for next week. He expects to be traded today, and puts out a cryptic tweet, and now he's listed back as questionable. So I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it, or maybe he just is questionable for the game against the Eagles. But just a little thing to put out there, that Brandon Cooks may be either sitting out, or he's just going to be playing the rest of the season with the Texans, just trying to get it over with. But other than Brandon Cooks, they really couldn't do anything off the ground. Looking at the defense, they had 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks on 72 total tackles, and 1 pass deflection. And Steven Nelson did get an interception off Malik Willis, which was Malik Willis's first start, but I'll talk about that later on in the episode. But overall, I think it was a great game. Or not great game. I mean, it's a decent game by the Texans. I mean, it's kind of just Texan stats here. But, yeah, they really just couldn't get anything off the ground, and that's what contributed to the loss, in my opinion. I think if they did develop a ground game for this game, they definitely would have won. Since, the offensive production from the Titans was really slow. So, I mean, and it was so close, so overall, I mean, Texans just haven't really developed a ground game with Dameon Pierce, which a lot of people thought was going to be a really good piece for them. But as for this game, I'm going to have to take the Eagles here. It's just kind of a hands-down type of thing. I think the Eagles probably have the easiest schedule, or at least the easiest picks out of the last few videos that I've done. I mean, or episodes that I've done. I mean, the Eagles just have seen such a great team. I mean, I feel like they can easily beat the Texans in this one. Now, next up here, we have the Raiders at the Jaguars. Now, the Raiders coming off one of the worst performances that I've ever seen by this Raiders team, putting up a big fat goose egg, okay, against the Saints. Now, the Saints defense is very good, don't get me wrong, but I mean, they had 3-4 plays in the Saints territory the entire game. They could not make it past the 50-yard line for their lives. Derek Carr was getting sacked like every other snap. Bad decisions, ball making wise. I mean, Josh Jacobs was trying to do his thing, but it just was not happening. The offensive line was not opening up whatsoever. It was just a really tough game to watch. Now, Derek Carr had 15 completions for 101 yards and an interception. Then they did put in Jarrett Stidham at the end of the game, since it was just kind of over at that point. They had 8 completions he had 8 completions for 72 yards. Like I said earlier, I mean, Josh Jacobs really couldn't get anything done. Rushing wise, I mean, there were just no holes whatsoever. Matt Collins was probably the best part of the game. He had 64 yards on 7 receptions. But that was about it. Defensively, they had 2 tackles for loss on 72 total tackles and 2 pass deflections. But that was really about it for the Raiders. They really could not form a ground game. That defense was just allowing the Saints to march down the field. Now, they did kind of slow it down in the second half. I believe it was 17-0 at the end of the first half. So they were able to really start slowing them down. But the offensive production was just weak on all sides, imaginable. Devontae Adams, Derek Carr were really on the same page, it looked like. Again, Josh Jacobs really couldn't develop anything. Offensive line was terrible. They were allowing sacks all day, basically. So it just was a really bad performance by the Raiders offense and defense. So, just overall, just a really bad performance. Now, as for the Jaguars, they did make a trade today for Calvin Ridley, but Calvin Ridley obviously isn't going to be playing for the rest of the season due to that, that betting suspension. I'm going to move my mic here. Due to that betting suspension. So, he isn't going to be playing this one, but overall, a pretty good trade. Now, they did play against the Broncos in London, and they did lose. They had the lead near the end of the game, and then they kind of just choked it. The Broncos were able to score a touchdown, I believe, with a minute left, and Jaguars really couldn't do much. But Trevor Lawrence tried to do his thing. 18 completions, 133 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Travis Etienne had a game, 156 yards on 24 carries and a touchdown. Evan Ingram had 55 yards on 4 receptions and a touchdown. But that was really about it. They really couldn't get much. Defensively, they had 5 pass deflections, 2 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 73 total tackles. And Tyson Campbell did have an interception. But that was really about it for the Jaguars. I mean, they had a really good game, I would say, against the Broncos. Just that last drive that the Broncos had, the Jaguars really gave up a lot and allowed the Broncos to score a touchdown. And then, the offense really couldn't answer back with a minute left. And the Broncos ended up winning that one. But as for this game, give me the Raiders here by 1. I think they're still a great team. They played against some really good, talented teams, but they just haven't really been able to get it done. And this one, I mean, against the Saints, it was just bad. And I think hopefully, they can bounce off of that loss and, become better. A team that I think they can definitely be. Cause I mean, they're only halfway through the season here. I think they can definitely get something done. But I mean, I feel like, they're going up against the Jaguars, who don't really have the best offense. So there could be something there with, the Raiders beating the Jaguars. But yeah, again, I just had the Raiders beating the Jaguars by 1. Now, next up, I have the Colts at the Patriots. Now, the Colts also made a big trade today, sending Nyheim Hines over to the Dolphins along with some picks, I want to say. And then the Colts getting, I'm tripping. Never mind. The Colts, so they didn't send Nyheim Hines to Miami. I was thinking of the Jeff Wilson trade. They sent Nyheim Hines to the Buffalo Bills, I believe, with a couple picks, for Zach Moss, who's pretty good, with a couple of picks as well. Zach Moss, he's a decent running back. I think he's a little role player that you really need depth at the running back position. I think he's overall a really great piece to add, pairing him with Jonathan Taylor, who, has had a little bit of injury. So I think that's a pretty good duo to have there. But the Colts, I mean, they are coming off of a close loss to the Commanders too. I almost had that though. I had Commanders winning 18-16, Commanders won 17-16. But I mean, the Colts came super close to winning, but they just allowed the Commanders to march all the way down the field, and Taylor Heineke ran in for that 1-yard touchdown to win the game. But looking at the Colts here, I mean, this was the first game with Sam Ehlinger in as a starting quarterback instead of Matt Ryan. And Sam Ehlinger did have 17 completions for 201 yards. Jonathan Taylor did his thing, 76 yards on 16 carries. Alec Pierce as well, had a really good game, 65 yards on 3 receptions. And Michael Pittman had 53 yards on 7 receptions. And I mean, they did fumble twice, though, the Colts did. Sam Ehlinger had a fumble, lost that one, and Jonathan Taylor also had a fumble and lost that one. Now, the Colts defense had 4 pass deflections with 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks on 73 total tackles, and Shaq Leonard had interception. So I mean, overall, the Colts did pretty good. It's just that last drive, kind of in the Jaguar sense, where they kind of just allowed that last drive to determine the game, and they allowed the Commanders to come back all the way down the field and score a touchdown and then make the extra point to win the game. So overall, I mean, they played really well. It was just they allowed that last drive to get a little bit out of hand, and that's what led to their loss. Now, as for the Patriots, they're coming off of a win against the Jets. Pretty surprising to me. I thought the Jets would have won this one, due to the Patriots' performance against the Bears on Monday Night Football. But the Patriots the Patriots did their thing. Mac Jones coming back fully starting. No Bailey Zappi in this one. He had 24 completions with 194 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Ramondre Stevenson did his thing as well, 71 yards on 16 carries. Ramondre Stevenson also had 72 yards on 7 receptions. Then Jacoby Myers had 60 yards on 9 receptions, along with a touchdown. Looking at the defense, they had 6 pass deflections, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks on 52 total tackles. Devin McCourty actually had 2 interceptions, and Jawan Bentley had an interception as well. So, I mean, overall, pretty good defensive performance by the Patriots. I want to give it up to the Patriots defense on that one. They did really good. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson had a game as well. I mean, he was going off. That definitely helped them win the game. But as for this one here, I have the Patriots winning by 6. Still a little bit, on the edge with the Patriots. I'm not sure if they're a good team, if they're a bad team, if they're an okay team. So I don't really know where to gauge them. And then as for the Colts, I don't know if they're going to do another week of starting Sam Ehlinger. I do have to see, but I feel like the Colts are definitely still a bottom tier team, even with a new starting quarterback. So for this one, I just have to give it to the Patriots. Okay, now next up we have the Packers at the Lions. Now the Packers coming off of a loss to the Bills on Sunday Night Football. Not the best game played by the Packers. I mean, they still pulled it in within 10 against one of the better teams in the NFL. Now, Aaron Rodgers did his thing, 19 completions, 203 yards, 2 interceptions, two touchdowns, along with an interception. Aaron Jones was absolutely going off. I mean, his burst was insane, going from basically the handoff to the first down line. I mean, those first 10 yards, he was going off. He had 20 carries on 143 yards. Dobbs had 62 yards on 4 receptions and a touchdown, but that touchdown catch was also pretty amazing. I mean, it was highly contested, and I mean, he was able to pull that one in. Defensively, they had 6 pass deflections, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks on 55 total tackles. Jair Alexander had an interception as well as Russell Douglas. And I mean, they did pretty okay for a team that I didn't really have that many expectations going to this one. I didn't think that they'd be. I didn't think it'd be a 10-point game against the Bills. I think that was pretty shocking. But the Packers just haven't really been playing that good or that well. Actually, I mean, they're going up against a really good Bills defense, and I think, there are some NFC defenses that are kind of like the Bills defense. So, I mean, if they're expecting to make it to an NFC championship game, they're going to have to go up against those defenses really early in the playoffs, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to really survive that good of a defense. And I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he was talking on the sideline mainly to the wide receivers, trying to get them the ball, but just overall, it just was not working that well for the Packers. I mean, the entire game, it just was pretty bad. I mean, they got most of the points in the fourth quarter, I want to say. But overall, I mean, it just was an game, really. I think the Bills probably could have played a little bit better, but the Packers, they just did not look like on the same page, really, with Aaron Rodgers and the wide receivers. Having David Bakhtiari back definitely did help them a little bit. I saw in the protection for Aaron Rodgers, and also run blocking for Aaron Jones was definitely big there for the Packers. Now going on to the Lions, loss to the Dolphins by 4. Okay, this is probably one of the worst losses. Just kidding out. This is casual Lions activity. Okay, being a Lions fan, this is like the worst, or it's not even the worst. This is just normal. It's just normal. It's like living. It's like breathing. Watching the Lions blow a 14-point lead, and on top of that, blowing their entire future away. Okay, today is probably one of the most depressing day for all Lions fans, as we got to see a future Hall of Famer, future Lions legend, be traded away. Okay, TJ Hawkinson. I mean, I heard he was, on the trade block a little bit earlier in the season. In that Seahawks game, he looked back, right? I mean, he was going off. He was doing his thing. Maybe not against the Patriots, but I mean, he was doing his thing. And then, I mean, first of all, I mean, I didn't even get to see the trade thing happen. I was in school. Somebody showed me, the Nets firing Steve Nash. And all of a sudden, under that notification, I see TJ Hawkinson traded, and I thought about it. I I had to click on the notification. I was like, what they traded him for, you know. I'm like, oh, you know, maybe they got somebody good, like a player or something. No, okay, no. They did not get a player. They proceeded to get a 2023 second round pick. So this year's draft, they get a second round pick in this year's draft, which is probably going to be low. And then a 2024 fourth rounder or the third rounder. I'm not sure. But next year's draft, they get another round pick, okay? I don't even care, okay? Those picks probably not even actually no. The second round is pretty good, but it's just late in the second round, so it's like not really that good. But I mean, we all know that some of these picks are not going to develop into what we think they are, okay? And maybe we do draft the next TJ Hawkins. Maybe we do draft like the next big player, right? But you currently have the number 1 pick. You are the worst team in the NFL, okay? All I want is just 4 wins. I just want 4 wins for the Lions this season. And that's how I get repaid. I get to see one of our best players get traded for a bag of chips, okay? Because here's the thing. There's potential in those draft picks, but there's also failure in those draft picks. TJ Hawkins has already cemented himself as one of the better tight ends in the league. This being his 4th season, right? They trade him to the Vikings, okay? They don't even have the decency to trade him to an AFC team or a different NFC team. You gotta trade him within the division, and on top of that, the NFC just got stronger with Chase Claypool going to the Bears. So, I mean, this is just bad, okay? And the Lions have got nobody, okay? They have nobody, okay? Brock Wright is an okay tight end, but I'm not sure if I can trust it, okay? I'm not sure if I can trust Brock Wright. I mean, he's okay. He's a good, really good blocking tight end, in my opinion. But the way this team is trending, it doesn't look like they want to win. They've already given up on the season at this point, okay? Because what's the point? What's the point anymore? Triple manned and throwing an interception. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point of the trade. Is to make Jared Goff better. But Jared Goff is trash. You should have at least traded away Jared Goff. You know what? I don't even want them to trade Jared Goff. They can just release him. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I really would not have a problem with it. Jared Goff is just so bad. He's actually a really bad quarterback. I really don't see what the organization sees in him. He seems like a really hard worker, you know? I'm not gonna discredit him for that. But I mean, the decision that he makes on the field is just incredible. It's just incredible how bad he is as a decision making QB. Like he's Zach Wilson level, okay? I mean, it's just amazing how bad he is at quarterback. Maybe we do need the first pick. Maybe we can keep 1 win on the season, get the first pick, and actually draft a competent quarterback. Okay, maybe we can do that. But my tangent aside, okay, Jared Goff out here, 27 completions, 321 yards, and a touchdown. But don't let that stat line fool you, okay? This man, he makes like the weirdest decision. Like, this is only his 2nd game so far this season without throwing an interception. And he currently has he has 12 touchdowns and 6 interceptions on the season right now. Half of his passes, half of his touchdowns are interceptions. Okay. But on top of that, I mean, he's just so bad. He's just so bad at like just decision making. Like, it's 4th and 2, and then he throws it deep. You don't need a touchdown, Jared. You need a first down, and that's in 2 yards, 2 yards ahead of you. Just check it down. Since you want to check it down so bad, it was 3rd and like 25 at one, or no, it was 1st and 30 at one point in the game. And you know what he does? He does 3 straight check downs on first and long, second and long, and third and long. Like, I really don't know what they were doing. It hurt me. It hurts me. It like physically hurts me to watch Jared Goff play quarterback. Okay, Jamal Williams, 53 yards, 10 carries, 2 touchdowns. He was doing okay. You know, he was doing okay. And look at this. Look at this. Our best receiving yards leader of this game, T.J. Hockenson, no longer here. Traded him away. Like, oh, you're our best receiver on the team? Okay, we're going to trade you away. 80 yards, 3 receptions. Khalif Raymond, 76 yards, 3 receptions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 69 yards, 7 receptions. I mean, maybe they're just depending on a wide receiver core being like the best wide receiver core of all time, and we still have yet to see Jameson Williams on the field. I thought he would already be in by this time. I really have not heard much on his recovery speed. They're just saying, yeah, he's doing okay. Okay, I mean, this team is just like the hardest team to watch right now. You know, I've lost all hope. You know, I was like, okay, maybe we can still go 10-7. No, we're not going 10-7 anymore. I just need 4 wins. I'm happy. That's a satisfying season with 4 wins. Okay, just win 3 more games, preferably against the Bears, Vikings, and Packers. That'd be great. You know, because you still gotta play them. So you know, division wins, that'd be great, and then just keep it moving. Okay, I mean this team is just terrible. Okay, 2 pass deflections, 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks on 62 total tackles. Maurice Alexander, you know, he was doing his thing as well. But I mean, it was just bad. It was just bad. Okay, it's just bad. It is just bad. I can't explain it anymore. Being a Lions fan is just bad. Okay, you have to see like the worst football team every week. Like there's no good team. There's no good team anymore. I'm done believing in a good team. It's done, okay? It's done. Defense, Aaron Glenn calls a timeout just to put 2 corners and press them on Tyreek out the line of scrimmage. What are you doing? What are you doing, Aaron Glenn? Okay? And they just fired the DB's coach on Monday, Aubrey Pleasant. I mean, he was doing his thing. He's okay, okay? He was okay, but I think it's great to see more adjustment on the defense. I need to see that a little bit more because like this defense is just trash. This defense is bad, okay? I like it'd be easier just to play no defense on the field at this rate. They allow a touchdown like every drive, at least a score every drive. It's horrendous, right? Like our offense literally has to score a point. Our offense has to score 30 plus points in order for this team to win because the defense is so bad. Like it's the hardest thing to watch. It literally hurts. It hurts to watch it. Like I was like, oh, it's the classic cycle of being a Lions fan. They're up 14 at the beginning of the game, and then all of a sudden, psych. They wipe it. They pull all your hope away from you. Okay? They're just like, oh, you thought I was feeling you, bruh. No, bruh. They're like, no, I was not, bruh. Because they do a 14-point lead, right? 14-point lead, just to pull it away, just to wipe it under your nose, bro. You know, at one point you think, okay, Lions are that team. You know, they're beating the Dolphins. Okay, Tua's undefeated right now, starting. We're beating the Dolphins. We could do it. We can make it to the playoffs. And then the offense stalls for one drive. Defense gives up back-to-back touchdowns. And then you're looking at it, 30 down 4. And Jared Goff throws a deep ball on 4th and 2, and we lose the game, right? Because then the Dolphins get it back, and they get 2 first downs. They get 2 first downs on both on 3rd down. I'm pretty sure, both on third down. They get 2 first downs and they ice the game with the knee. Like the Lions are like making my life expectancy shorter by watching them, because like I don't know how you could be that bad of a team, but like keep my hopes up at the same time. Now, with all that being said, I'm still a delusional Lions fan, so I'm gonna have the Lions winning this one, obviously. I have the Lions winning by 7 here. I really hope that they beat the Packers. All I need them to do is just wipe out the rest of the division, okay? Sure, you lost to the Vikings, okay? Split it with the Vikings, sweep the Bears and sweep the Packers. That's all I need. I'd be so happy. I'd be thrilled. I'd be above the moon, okay? If they can just do that. But this one, I have the Lions win by 7, mainly because the Packers look like they're the worst. Okay, they could be the worst team. The Packers just haven't really looked like they're on the same page. I think the Lions could definitely take advantage of that hit taken with T.J. Hawkinson. But I think that could just lead to more happening for the offense, a little bit more. Okay. Jared Goff's not gonna be staring down T.J. Hawkinson every snap. So, maybe we find something. But right now, I've just given up hope. But I still have the Lions winning by 7. Okay, now next up, the Chargers at the Falcons. Now the Chargers coming off a bye week, getting everybody a little bit healthier. Great to see. Justin Herbert definitely needs it. Austin Eckler definitely needs it. Keenan Allen definitely needs it. Mike Williams might be out. I'm really not sure, but I think he definitely needs it. Heal time for basically everybody on that Chargers squad is definitely necessary for them to be a winning team. Maybe they can come back and restart with some momentum. Now the Falcons coming off one of the greatest, most bizarre wins I've ever seen in my life. Okay, that was, if anybody had seen that one, I'm sure. So basically, right, it's a close game, right? It was 34-28. PJ Walker rolls out, throws it deep. By the way, this man threw it like 60 yards with ease. That was crazy. Rolling out like off of 1 foot, maybe, barely on 2 feet. Zips that ball. That was crazy. First of all, shout out PJ Walker. We love to see the XFL succeed. Oh man, that was a bomb. That was an absolute bomb. To DJ Moore, bro, the Falcons defense really choked on that route though. Whoever that defender was, bro, you got to be out of there. Number 21, you got to be out of there. That was sad. That was a sad defense. I don't even know what he was doing, but he just allowed DJ Moore to get past him. DJ Moore catches it. Now, a lot of people are blaming DJ Moore for taking off his helmet. No. Okay. I think the Panthers have one of, they just won the game. Like, in DJ Moore's mind, right? They just won the game because he just caught a touchdown. I'm taking my helmet off too. Like, I'm taking my helmet off. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, okay? That's crazy. That's crazy, right? So then they get penalized, obviously, because you can't take off your helmet like that. So now I believe it's like a 30-40 yard extra point, and the kicker misses it, Eddie Pinheiro. Now there's the first flag because he's a professional kicker. I'm not making that kick, okay? I'm already gonna say myself, I'm not making that kick. But he's a professional kicker. You should be able to make that kick. That you should be. I know it's a little bit harder, but than an extra point. But you should be making that kick. That's easy, okay? You're a professional kicker. He misses it, okay. No biggie because it goes into overtime, right? But the Falcons get the coin toss. Oh, okay. But Marcus Mariota throws a pick, and it gets picked off and then returned all the way back to the Atlanta 20-yard line. So now all the Panthers got to do is just try to get as close as possible to scoring a touchdown, and then just kick an easy field goal, right? Panthers run it 3 times, doesn't really get anywhere. So they bring on Eddie Pinheiro again. This man, again. They kick like a 20 plus yard field goal. Misses. He misses it. He missed 2 game-winning kicks. And then people still have the audacity to blame DJ Moore. The kicker missed 2 kicks. He missed 2 kicks. Regardless of the helmet being taken off, he still missed the extra point, and he still missed the game-winning. He still missed the game-winning field goal, which is like 3 to 10 yards more than if he kicked the extra point. But that's just me. That's just how I see it. But anyway, so now the Falcons get the ball back. Now the Falcons march down the field. They score a touchdown. Or actually, no, they don't score a touchdown. My bad. They score a field goal. Younghoe Koo hits a 40-yarder too. He hits a 40-yarder in Eddie Pinheiro's face. He's like, oh, you can't make that extra field goal or extra point. Let me just kick this 40-yarder in your face. Okay, Younghoe Koo. He's a goat. He's a goat. Kicks it, makes it. I mean, one of the most bizarre ones I've ever seen. I mean, like right up there with the Browns choking against the Chargers. But Marcus Mariota, 20 completions, 253 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Huntley was going off 91 yards, 16 carries. I just added him to my fantasy team too. I added him on waivers. Hopefully he gets on my team. I mean, he was going off. Kyle Pitts, 80 yards, 5 receptions, and a touchdown. Bird, 67 yards, 3 receptions, and a touchdown. I mean, they were doing their thing. Defensively, 7 pass deflections, 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 71 total tackles. I mean, the Falcons played a decent game. That last drive definitely hurt them a lot, and that's what caused it to go into overtime. But Marcus Mariota was able to redeem himself on that second interception. Also, sprinkle a little bit of luck in there. That's why the Falcons won that one. But as for this game, I have the Falcons winning by 2. Okay, I love this Falcons team. This Falcons team looks great. I think Arthur Smith has something going on. He has something going on there. And I think this team looks great. So for that, the Chargers haven't looked like themselves lately, but maybe, the bye week will refresh them. But they just haven't seemed like they're in the rhythm. So as for this one, just give me the Falcons here by 2. Okay, now next up we have the Bills at the Jets in divisional matchup. This one might be good or might be bad. I'm really not sure, because the Jets might hang in there or they just might get absolutely blown out. But looking at the Bills, I mean they did pretty good against the Packers. They were just going off. Shout out to Stephon Diggs, man. Shout out to Stephon Diggs. He's on my fantasy team, and he was doing his thing. Josh Allen, 13 completions, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Devin Singletary, also have him on my fantasy team, 67 yards on 14 carries. And Stephon Diggs, 108 yards on 6 receptions and a touchdown. But that was about it there on offense. Just Josh Allen, Devin Singletary, and Stephon Diggs, the 3-headed goat. Okay. Now again, they did trade away Zach Moss and a couple picks to get Nyheim Hines. So I think that's definitely a great acquisition there. Definitely adding more depth to that running back room. But I do feel like Devin Singletary and Nyheim Hines do play a little bit in the same type of situation. I mean, they're kind of the same size, but I think nonetheless, I think it's just always great to add depth to your team, and adding another running back is always great to see. Him do there. So I think that was great. But looking at the defense, they had 6 pass deflections, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 76 total tackles. And the Bills have also reported that Tre'Davious White has been practicing, so that's also great to see. So he may be aiming at a late season return. So that's gonna be very clutch for the Bills, especially since they don't really have the strongest schedule in near the end of the season, but going into the playoffs, they definitely need all the help that they can get, and having Trey White back is definitely something that they need. So Definitely a big piece of news there coming from the Bills. And then as for the Jets, coming off of a surprising loss to the Patriots, I thought they'd be able to do more, but I mean, Zach Wilson is just bad. Zach Wilson is just terrible. Okay, I mean, Zach Wilson he still had 355 yards and 20 completions, right? He had 2 touchdowns. That's pretty great, right? But he had 3 interceptions. And none of them were actually good. Like, they weren't like, oh, okay, that might be on the wide receiver. Oh, that's 50-50 ball. No, he's throwing it directly to the defense. That's why I classify him as one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks. They really couldn't get anything off the ground. I mean, Matthew Judon, he's a great edge rusher. He's doing his thing with the Patriots. Receiving wise, Garrett Wilson, he's doing his thing, 115 yards, 6 receptions. No Elijah Mitchell here. Or not Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Moore. He did nothing, okay? And you know what? It seems like it's Elijah Moore still has not been traded. He was not traded at all. So that man is punching the air right now. He is not getting anything. But Garrett Wilson, 115 yards, 6 receptions. Conklin, 79 yards, 6 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Denzel Mims, 76 yards, two receptions. I mean, they were doing their thing. Defensively, 4 pass deflections, 13 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, and 79 total tackles. I mean, that defense is something else. I think the Jets defense is great, but that offense, the receiving end is really great, but I mean, they can't form a ground game to save their lives. They definitely need a lot of help on the offensive line. That's something that they definitely need, but they have not been able to get. But as for this one, I do have the Bills winning by 7 here. I think it'll be just a tad bit close since it is a divisional matchup. They want to, do some things, but maybe the Jets really need a comeback game from losing to another divisional matchup in the Patriots. So, but yeah, I think just the Bills obviously are the better team here and should most likely get the win. Okay, now next up we have 2 teams coming off of a win. The Vikings at the Commanders. Now, the Vikings coming off of a pretty good win over the Cardinals. Now, Kirk Cousins went 24 for 36, 232 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times. Dalvin Cook did his thing as well, 111 yards on 20 carries, along with a touchdown. Justin Jefferson going off 98 yards, 6 receptions. Adam Thielen, 67 yards, 6 receptions. And Kirk Cousins did fumble. He did lose a fumble there. But as for the defense, they had 9 pass deflections, 8 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and 62 total tackles. And let's see, in interceptions, we have 1 from Harrison Smith, and then 1 from Cameron Bynum. So, those are really good stats overall. I think the Vikings did a really good job, really handling the Cardinals in the first half. Now in the second half, the Cardinals started kind of closing in that lead, and they really started to develop an air attack. And the Vikings, but the Vikings still were able to win. A clutch pick there by Bynum, I believe, was the one that really sealed the game. He did his thing, and overall, I think it was a great performance by the Vikings. Now, as for the Commanders, again, like I was talking about, they had that game-winning drive. Taylor Heineke ran in on a quarterback sneak and scored the touchdown. And so far, I'm not sure if it's like a Cooper Rush type of thing with Taylor Heineke, but I solely believed that Taylor Heineke was better than Carson Wentz, and he's kind of proving it right now. But that's just me. I think Taylor Heineke should be the Commanders quarterback. But he went 23 for 31, 279 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Now they really couldn't develop a rushing attack. There just wasn't really much happening there, but through the air they were going off. Terry McLaurin, 113 yards and 6 receptions. Kind of seems like he's back. He kind of out of his funk from last season, earlier this season. He looks like he's fully back now, which is great to see. Antonio Gibson had 58 yards on 7 receptions and a touchdown, and Curtis Samuel had 50 yards on 3 receptions. which is pretty nice. And Darren Payne and Casey Toothhill both got fumble recoveries. And then on defense as well, they had 2 pass deflections, 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 60 total tackles. They definitely did their thing against a first start Sam Ehlinger. They somewhat held Jonathan Taylor. I mean, they only held him to 76 yards. And subpar on the air. I mean, the defense is okay, but mainly the offense really showed a lot of grit and some power, especially through the air and on that last drive. But as for this matchup here, I'm going to have to take the Vikings over the Commanders by 7. I think the Vikings are just a better team. However, I do think Taylor Heineke is still a great quarterback. I think the Vikings just overall are the more complete team, the better team, and they should definitely get this win here. Now, next up, we have the Panthers at the Bengals. Starting off on the Panthers, I mean, I've already talked about it. The Hail Mary from PJ Walker, amazing throw, amazing, even a better catch by DJ Moore. He pulled that one in, took off his helmet. Story goes on, 2 missed field goals, blah blah, right? But I mean, overall, the Panthers have done decently well with PJ Walker at the helm, and it looks like they still have a healthy. Sorry, I'm moving my mic here. They do have a healthy Baker Mayfield playing as backup, so it looks like the Panthers are rocking with PJ Walker until he really is bad, I guess. But I really like PJ Walker, even him coming out of XFL. Great to see, the success that they're having. He went 19 for 36, 317 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Donta Foreman went off. I mean, Donta Foreman's been doing pretty well. Donta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard, even though Chuba Hubbard didn't really play in this game, Donta Foreman had he's been going off since the absence of Christian McCaffrey, or since the trade. And he had 118 yards on 26 carries and 3 touchdowns. Funny enough, that Christian McCaffrey and Donta Foreman both scored 3 touchdowns the same week. And then DJ Moore, 152 yards on 6 receptions and a touchdown. Obviously, that touchdown was the last play of the regular time. And then Terrence Marshall Jr. went off, 87 yards, 4 receptions. He was doing his thing. They were definitely going through it on the air. And then defensively, they had 5 pass deflections, 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 78 total tackles. They were doing their thing out there on defense. And through the air, they were just going off. And they started off the game pretty hot. Then they started cooling off. Falcons really got the lead. And then they were able to tie it there at the end, but I'm pretty sure Pinheiro is definitely not on the team anymore. That would be tough if he is still on the team, but I highly doubt it. I feel like he should not be on the team. There's a lot of good kickers there still in the free agency, you're just able to pick up, but yeah, Eddie Pinheiro, not that good. He was on the Lions for a little bit, and he also missed kicks, so. It's just that former Bear kicker syndrome, they just be missing kicks like that. So, but moving on to the Bengals here, absolutely getting whooped by the Browns on Halloween. I had the Bengals win that one. That one was kind of sad to hear. That they got blown out. Joe Burrow went 25 for 35, 232 yards. 2 touchdowns and an interception. He was sacked 5 times. That offense line is still bad, and you can see it even through the ground game. They barely even ran the ball. They had a combination of 10 carries for a total of 36 rushing yards. And that's with Joe Mixon at the home. He wasn't even injured. And they couldn't eclipse 50 yards with any of the receivers on the ground. They had 25 receptions for 232 yards. I mean, they were getting locked up to the air. Joe Burrow did lose a fumble. And defensively, they only had 1 pass deflection, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 84 total tackles. I mean, it just did not look good whatsoever. I mean, Jacoby Brissett, he looked really good. Nick Chubb as well. But still speaking on the Bengals, I mean, Joe Burrow really tried his best, but I mean, the offensive line just looked like it was not holding up, and the defense as well was just not, it was not able to do much there. I mean, Von Bell was able to get an interception, but that was really about it. But as for this game, with the Panthers at the Bengals, I have the Bengals winning this one by 3. I think the Bengals have had some surprising wins for me, and they've also had some surprising losses. So as for this one, I'm gonna have to take the win here. I'm still not fully convinced on the Panthers, but they do look a lot better now. But I'm not fully convinced. I'd need a little bit more convincing, but we'll have to see. If they do beat the Bengals here, then I might be a little convinced on the Panthers. But if the Panthers lose, then I'm not sure. But overall, I mean, I feel like the Bengals are the better and complete team in this one. Now, next up, we have the Dolphins at the Bears. Now, the Dolphins coming off of a win against the Lions. And, I basically already talked about the game. But just going through the stats here, Tua went 29 for 36, 382 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Raheem Mostert he was really fast on the field, and he was doing his thing, 64 yards and 14 carries. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle both eclipsed 100. Tyreek Hill almost hit 200. He had 188 yards on 12 receptions. Jalen Waddle 106 yards on 8 receptions and 2 touchdowns. They're really targeting Jalen Waddle in the red zone a lot, especially on these post corner routes. They're getting to him. I mean, the speed is great. I mean, that's a great advantage. That's mainly why they're hitting him on the post corners. But I mean, yeah, they're just targeting him in the red zone. And then Braylon Sanders did fumble a ball. And did lose that one. And then as for the defense, they had 3 pass deflections, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 58 total tackles. So, I mean, really, the defense didn't do much. I mean, the Lions were doing pretty good, but it's just the Lions. The Lions defense just was not able to stop the offense. So the offense was really taking that time of possession up for the Lions. So the Miami defense couldn't really do all that much. But overall, I mean, very good game by Miami, very good game by Tyreek Hill, especially. Him and Tua definitely have a very good connection. And then as for the Bears, they're coming off of a loss to the Cowboys. It's like interesting. So they blow out the Patriots and then they lose to the Cowboys. But I mean, I guess the Cowboys are a little bit better than the Patriots. But I mean, a lot of people had some high expectations for this game for the Bears. But Justin Fields went 17 for 23, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times. And then Khalil Herbert had 99 yards on 16 carries, and Justin Fields as well had 60 yards on 8 carries, and David Montgomery 53 yards on 15 carries. And Khalil Herbert had a rushing touchdown as well as Justin Fields had a rushing touchdown. And I mean, it looks like they're really going with Khalil Herbert here more for the starter than compared to David Montgomery. I think it's a really great pick, or great choice, I guess, to move him over David Montgomery. He's just a really fast running back, and his decision making is really good. And then Darnell Mooney, 70 yards with 5 receptions. He was doing his thing. David Montgomery did lose a fumble. And then on the defense, Eddie Jackson had an interception. They had 3 pass deflections, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 56 total tackles. But that defense really just could not stop Tony Pollard. I mean, Tony Pollard was just running all over them. And he was just doing his thing on them. Same with CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz. They really couldn't stop much there on the defensive side of the ball. And then offensively, I mean, they were trying their best, but you can't get them all, and the defense definitely was not helping with that. But as for this game, I have the Dolphins winning by 3. I think the Dolphins, I think they're a more well-rounded team, and if the Bears really had a struggle against the Cowboys, most likely they are going to have a bigger struggle against the Dolphins. Okay, now NFC West matchup here. We have the Seahawks at the Cardinals. Now the Seahawks coming off of a win against the Giants, winning 27-13. Geno Smith did his thing, 23 for 34, 212 yards, and 2 touchdowns with he was sacked 3 times. However, Kenneth Walker is doing his thing. His stop and cuts are great. 51 yards, 18 carries, and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett was doing his thing, 63 yards, 5 receptions, and a touchdown. DK Metcalf as well, 55 yards, 6 receptions, and a touchdown. Now, it did look like they were having some fumbling issues here from what I see. Tyler Lockett lost a fumble. Disley and Blount got the fumbles, or got 2 fumbles back. And, the defense, they had 6 pass deflections, 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and 68 total tackles for loss, or sorry, just 68 total tackles. They were doing the defense is definitely doing their thing against a Giants team that a lot of people think were really high powered, and this kind of showed that if the Giants are facing a team with very minimal mistakes, that you're not really going to see the outcome that you've recently seen in the Giants. So that's what this game kind of showed me. And then as for the Cardinals, again losing to the Vikings here, 26-34. Kyler Murray is doing his thing, 31 for 44, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 4 times. But yeah, again, they really could just not get anything off the floor. But through the air, they were doing their thing. DeAndre Hopkins, 159 yards and 12 receptions and a touchdown. Ever since he's been back, that duo is showing what they had last year. And then Rondale Moore doing his thing, 92 yards, 7 receptions, and a touchdown. Dortch lost a fumble. Kyler Murray got one back, and Isaiah Simmons also got a fumble recovery. And then looking at the defense, they had 3 pass deflections, 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 65 total tackles. And they were definitely doing their thing in the second half. They really were able to close the gap that the Vikings had, but just some pretty crucial mistakes, the interceptions, the fumbles, definitely did cost them in the end. But as for this game, I do have the Seahawks winning by 3. I think that they're showing that they're a really good team. The offensive line, Kenneth Walker, Geno Smith, they're all looking really good. Geno Smith's getting the ball around to different teammates. And the Cardinals defense, seemed to struggle against the Vikings offense that is kind of similar to the Seahawks, in my opinion. So, again, just give me the Seahawks here. Okay, so now next up we have the Rams at the Buccaneers. Now the Rams coming off of an absolute blowout to the 49ers. It was pretty bad. Matthew Stafford, he tried 22 for 33, 187 yards and 1 touchdown. But they could not get anything off the ground. Only 21 carries for 56 yards and a rushing touchdown. I'm looking at through the air, they were doing their thing though. They had 79 yards on 8 receptions and a touchdown. And then Allen Robinson, who's wearing white sleeves now. I'm not sure if that's supposed to, allude to something, but he's wearing the white sleeves now, and he's getting the ball. 54 yards and 5 receptions. He's doing his thing defensively. The Rams got 4 pass deflections, 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 68 total tackles. The defense was very poor, in my opinion. They really just could not get much done to really stop the 49ers. And the 49ers were stopping the ground game of the Rams, and the Rams just did not know what to do. They tried going through the air, but Cooper Kupp was injured with the last minute in the 4th quarter, and the game was practically done by that time. So he is kind of 50-50 on if he will be back for this game against the Buccaneers. Now, as for the Buccaneers, they're coming off of a loss, close one to the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. Now, Tom Brady's divorce has become public, and I'm not sure if that is something that has interfered with his gameplay, but he just has not been looking the same, but so has the team. I'm not sure if if there's any bad energy just going throughout the team, but the entire team just doesn't look like they're the same. Tom Brady went 26 for 44, 325 yards and a touchdown. But Leonard Fournette could. Leonard Fournette cannot get anything through the ground. Nobody could. They had 44 total rushing yards on 15 carries and a rushing touchdown. But they could do it through the air, though. Mike Evans, 123 yards on 6 receptions. And Chris Godwin, 75 yards on 6 receptions. They were doing their thing. And Delaney lost Delaney lost a fumble in the game. Then as for the defense, they had 3 pass deflections, 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 79 total tackles. But again, just looked like they were not on the same page whatsoever during this game. They were able to keep it close somewhat, but it just does not look like the Buccaneers of the past. But as for this one, I do have the Buccaneers here winning by 1. I think it's going to be a really close matchup with 2 teams that just have been really underwhelming so far this past season. So we'll have to see, who's really that team that can really step up in this one. So again, just give me the Buccaneers here. I feel like they are somewhat the better team. Now, next up, we have the Titans at the Chiefs. Now, the Titans coming off of a win against the Texans, and most likely Malik Willis is going to start in this one against the Chiefs, but I'm not really, sure. He didn't really do all that great, and it looks like they don't really have that much trust in him, as he only attempted 10 passes as a starter. No other quarterback played before him or after him, so he went 6 for 10 for 55 yards and an interception. He was sacked 3 times. Just not the best performance against a really weak defense. And I was really excited for him to start, but it looks like they don't really trust him all that much with the ball, since they did run the ball 45 times, and Derrick Henry had 32 carries for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was going off, but yeah, the receiving game was not all that great. Robert Woods also had a fumble, but as defense, was it Christian Fulton? He just didn't got an interception. Defensively, they had 2 pass deflections, 8 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 50 total tackles. Just not the best performance against a really weak Houston Texans team. I think they definitely could have done better. Besides Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry did Derrick Henry things. So, he was doing his thing. But yeah, definitely a weak performance by the Texans. And then as for the Chiefs, they're coming off of a bye week, I believe. And definitely some time to heal and do everything, and also get Kadarius Toney, the playbook, and get him to learn everything. I believe this is going to be his first game with the Chiefs, so can't wait to see that. That's going to be really interesting. But as for this game, I do have the Chiefs winning. I think it's going to be pretty easily the Chiefs here. I think that they're way over, they're way over the Titans, in my opinion. Now, they may have a problem with stopping Derrick Henry, but if they're able to stop the air attack, all you got to do is just really focus on the run, and that defense line is really good, and the Titans secondary is also kind of weak, and you can really attack that with the multitude of targets that the Chiefs have. So again, just give me the Chiefs here. Now, next up, we have the Ravens at the Saints. Now, the Ravens, again, coming off of a win against the Buccaneers. Lamar Jackson did his thing, 27 for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gus Edwards did his thing, 65 yards, 11 carries, as well as Kenyon Drake. He was going off, 62 yards on 7 carries. Isaiah Likely, talk about a player that used his opportunity to his advantage. He was going off, 77 yards on 6 receptions and a touchdown. And Demarcus Robinson also going off, 64 yards on 6 receptions. And then Kayvon Seymour, he got a fumble recovery. And then on defense, they had 7 pass deflections, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 52 total tackles. They were all over the place, especially on offense. They were doing their thing. They were getting the points there. The defense was a little staggering at some points, but they were still able to get the job done, as they did win by 5. And then as for the Saints, the Saints just had a complete shutout on the Raiders, and they were doing their thing. It was tough to watch. It was really tough to watch as a Raiders fan. It was bad. It was bad. Andy Dalton, 22 for 30, 229 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it looks like Jameis Winston is healthy, so they are rocking with Andy Dalton as the starter for now. And then Alvin Kamara he had 3 total touchdowns. He had 1 rushing touchdown for 62, or he had 1 rushing touchdown on 18 carries for 62 yards. And then Taysom Hill also had 61 yards on 10 carries. And then Alvin Kamara, again, receiving game, 96 yards on 9 receptions and 2 receiving touchdowns. He was just going off. It was like nobody could tackle him at all. Chris Olave, 52 yards on 5 receptions. it was just crazy. And Tyrann Mathieu got a clutch tip drill interception, or not clutch, but I guess it was at the beginning of the game to really throw off the Raiders there. And then the defense had 8 pass deflections, 7 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and 52 total tackles. It was just a all-around great performance by the Saints. Now, as for this game, I do have the Ravens winning this one by 1. I think it's going to be really close. Both of these teams played really great last week against, some pretty good teams. So I think it's going to be a really interesting one to watch. It's going to be a close matchup. But again, here, just give me Baltimore in this one. And that'll be all for my Week 9 prediction. I know at the beginning I said Week 8. I kind of got mixed up there. But Week 9 predictions, hopefully you enjoy them. Again, thank you for the support on my latest video. And make sure you leave a follow, or not follow, but subscribe if you hit that subscribe button, a like and comment, and also share the video with anybody that you think would like it. And then also, if you are listening to a podcast version of this episode, make sure you go ahead and leave a follow on the podcast channel, and also leave it a 5-star review if you will. That'd be greatly appreciated. But that's all. I don't know why I'm so, but that is all for today's episode. I hope you enjoy, and thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.